mates.
I will say this about investing. Everything you do learn is cumulative. What I learned at 20 is useful.
Equity.
Welcome to another episode of Equity Mates, a podcast where we break down the world of investing from beginning to dividend so that you can hopefully make some returns. My name is Bryce, and as always, I'm joined by my equity buddy, Alec, the Renahan Ren. Well, Ren Renahan. How are you going, bro?
Even better after that intro, mate. Even better.
Yeah, so what's news?
What is news? Well, that's what this episode's all about, isn't it? We're sticking to our learn to invest in 15 minutes or less.
Yes.
So we're not going to waffle on like we used to, but we're
Sure.
going to rip through two big news stories of the day. And there might be a little bit of waffle in there.
We haven't touched on news for a while, so, well, let's get stuck in. Firstly, big news yesterday, Ren. Big news. Big news.
Tipping your hand a little bit about when we record this, but yesterday for us at the time of recording, Coles is becoming its own company.
Yeah, well, if for those that were listening on our previous, maybe it was 3 or 4 episodes ago, Ren, you actually spoke about Wesfarmers, and you said that it was a company to watch. You had it as a hold at the moment because of what's going on with their Bunnings, but now they're demerging. They don't want Coles anymore. So for those that aren't aware, Wesfarmers is a company that owns Bunnings, it owns a whole heap of coal, it owns Kmart, it owns
Target,
Coles, Target, Officeworks, huge. And yesterday, they pretty much said, Coles, you got to go on your own. You're out of here.
Yeah. The background is Wesfarmers bought Coles Myer in 2007 or 2008.
2007.
Yeah. And they got rid of Myer pretty quick smart, which was a good move on their part.
Yes.
And then they basically turned Coles around. So Coles was pretty shocking when Wesfarmers bought them. And in the 10 years, they've had pretty crazy growth. They've really become a lot stronger as a company. And now Wesfarmers is saying... What was that?
Crazy grow.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy.
Anyway, keep going.
You're just a little bit jaded because you work for Woolworths. But, anyway, they decided that, the way they're spinning it is that Coles has been turned around and it's ready to become its own company. I think the more accurate reason is that Coles uses about 60% of Wesfarmers' working capital, but only contributes about 30-odd% to their earnings.
Yes.
So their return on capital isn't as efficient as other companies like Bunnings and Kmart, and they couldn't sell Target for anything these days.
No, and you wouldn't sell.
I think they're just trying to find a more efficient use of their capital.
Definitely, reading between the lines, that's very much what it seemed. It's also worth mentioning that their CEO or your director, John Durkin, has stood down or was moved on. And
stood down in inverted commas, I think.
Yes, I would say so.
Well, here's a question for you. So, obviously neither of us are CEOs, but if you were doing something like this, would you want to put the new CEO in place at the start of the process so they could see the company through the transition and then, onwards? Or would you have the existing CEO see them through the transition, set them up for success as a public company, and then leave and get replaced?
It's an interesting question. I think that you're always better to get rid. The writing's on the wall for him now. Everyone knows he's going. I would be putting someone new in there now.
Yeah, well, that's what they did. So lucky they.
But I thought he was seeing out. I thought he still had a while to go.
Yeah, they haven't said the date. Well, at least I haven't seen the date that he's going, but they've announced his replacement.
Yeah.
So I imagine that it's not going to be too long. I think what's going to happen is he will stay in an advisory capacity to ensure a smooth transition, all that.
Mm.
But yeah, look, big news. Coles will instantly become one of the 30 largest publicly traded companies in Australia.
Yep.
So they're going to be pretty massive in their own right.
Yeah.
But now they are all grown up, they're leaving home, and let's see how they go on their own.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Would you be interested in buying when they go public?
Oh, look, I wouldn't be against it, but I'm not sure it's the best use of funds. I think you can probably find better value and more growth out there. But look, I think, fresh food retail is a very consistent business.
It'd be a dividend stock.
I wouldn't be worried about it going to zero if I bought it. But, at my stage in life, I'm looking for a little bit more upside. I think both Woolies and Coles, the market really doesn't grow. The market grows at like the rate of inflation, basically. Yeah. People aren't getting pay rises, so they can't buy more groceries. So I think the whole market conditions is probably a little bit unattractive for me. But I think both Coles and Woolies are well-run companies with a lot of talented people. So I don't think you would be making a massive mistake if you put some money in it and left it for 10 or 15 years.
And I also think, the share price for Wesfarmers went up yesterday 6%, and Metcash actually went down 6% as well because their CEO is now going to be the CEO of Coles.
Yeah, he's not their full CEO. He's their CEO of supermarkets. Metcash owns some other businesses as well.
Yeah, right. I'm looking forward to seeing the successes of Wesfarmers once Coles go and what they actually do with this $19.4 billion that they reckon they're going to be getting from the sale of Coles, and it might be a good opportunity to buy some Wesfarmers as well.
Yeah, I think part of the reason that Wesfarmers went up is that, Wesfarmers shareholders at the moment are all of a sudden going to get shares in Coles and keep their shares in Wesfarmers.
Yeah.
And then Wesfarmers is now going to have, as you said, $20 billion to buy something. So I think as a Wesfarmers shareholder, you'd be pretty happy because
they buy Woolies.
Wesfarmers buys Woolies. Interesting. Well, here's my question. Does Amazon buy Coles, or Walmart recently bought Asda in the UK? Does Walmart expand to another market and buy Coles?
I don't think Walmart does. I don't know. It's a tough one, actually. Like, Walmart will definitely be doing that to compete with the likes of Amazon.
I think, Walmart, it has $500 billion in revenue a year, like $500 billion in revenue. I think it is constantly looking for ways to grow.
Increase that,
And I think that it is looking outside of America to do that. Obviously, Australia isn't a huge market compared to the UK, so...
But I guess the question is, why have we never said will Amazon or Walmart buy Woolworths, for example, or buy...
Well, Woolworths is a lot bigger, I think. Well, it's bigger.
You're just saying, so from a price perspective, Coles is attractive?
Well, it depends what Coles trades at, I guess. But look, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just throwing it out there as a possibility.
Yeah. It is a possibility. It definitely is. Yeah. They spent $20 billion on Whole Foods, Amazon did. So... it's not out of the realm of possibility, but who knows?
Who knows? Anyway, let's move on to the second bit of news.
Yeah, Trump war.
Trade war. Yeah, so we've been waiting for this one for a while. And it's finally here,
Yes.
It's happening.
Bang, boom. Well, what's happening, Ren? There's a war going on, I hear, with Trump and trade and China. Enlighten me, for those that are unaware.
So... everyone reckons Trump started this trade war. He didn't. He just escalated it. Chinese steel has been he's been controversial for a while. Well, Chinese trade policy more generally has been controversial for a while. George W. Bush was the first US president to put steel tariffs on. They didn't last very long because as most people are aware, trade restrictions generally aren't effective, and they were taken off. Then what happened was, under Obama, the Chinese really ramped up a lot of their steel dumping. They were subsidizing a lot of Chinese companies to overproduce and then dump it on the world stage. And then also there was a lot of concerns around intellectual property theft. So the Obama administration started a bunch of inquiries, and the first lot of tariffs that were put on were actually the result of one of those inquiries, and the Trump administration put tariffs on washing machines and solar panels.
Interesting.
Yeah, big ticket items. What do you reckon? What do you reckon a good tariff for a washing machine is?
Good tariff for a washing machine is 18%.
Ooh, well, Trump one up to you there, mate. Up to 50%.
Oh,
Yeah.
what?
And then what about solar panels? You know, clean energy revolution.
Oh,
Trump
well,
does love
solar
coal.
panels. Trump loves solar panels, so we're looking at about 75%.
Oh no, not that high. Up to 30% for solar panels.
Wow.
So that was the opening salvo. That was the first shot across the bow. No one really paid as much attention to it. But the next one was a little bit more notable, and I'm sure most people have heard about it, the steel and aluminum tariffs.
Aluminum?
Well, you see, that's
you
my
American?
first question. Is aluminum and
aluminium.
is it the same thing? Because it's spelt differently.
Yeah, they spell it differently, but
is
it's
it
definitely the same
material?
thing.
So aluminum and
They're
aluminium.
like
are the same.
aluminum.
Yeah, I know. Well, there you go. I listened to too much news, and now I'm bloody stuck in their
You're
ways.
becoming American. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
I'm with you, Trump. Aluminum for life. So yeah, 25% for steel and 10% for aluminum. So that's
big.
That's the big one, and
Commodity items.
the big one is steel because obviously there's a lot of controversy over Chinese steel dumping. Now, the wrinkle in all this is that China isn't actually the biggest exporter of steel to America. Have a guess which country sends the most steel to America.
I actually do know this. Let me rack my brain. It is Canada.
Nailed it. Yeah, so
Nailed
Canada.
it.
And
Yes.
would you believe it that right at the moment, the North American Free Trade Agreement, an agreement between Canada, US, and Mexico, which was signed under Bill Clinton, so 20 years ago now, is actually being renegotiated because Trump basically tore it up.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a coincidence that they put the steel tariff on at the same time that they were renegotiating NAFTA, and then they said, we're open to negotiate exceptions. So I think it gave them a lot of leverage in that negotiation, and Canada now does have an exception, as does Mexico and Australia. So we got it on the basis of national security.
Which is, what does that even mean?
I think it's because we need a steel industry to make our own planes and boats. But I think it's more that we have been a pretty loyal national security partner. We're one of the few countries in the world where America has a trade surplus with us, which is something that Trump is big on. He hates having trade deficits with countries.
Which is a stupid train of thought, but anyway.
It's Trump.
I know.
There's some really interesting articles out there about the full court press that Malcolm Turnbull did to get this exemption, and like full credit to the bloke, whether you like him or don't. I think it's worth reading what he and Julie Bishop and Joe Hockey, the ambassador, did, including sending like a delegation of Australian business leaders who Trump likes. Anthony Pratt is one.
Smart.
There's a couple of others that Trump knows and
Murdoch.
really likes. And the big one is Greg Norman, the golfer.
What?
Because Trump loves golf, and apparently he's
Loves
pretty
golf,
good at golf.
yeah.
And I think he's played with Greg Norman in the past. And so Greg Norman went and like introduced Trump to all these business people at the
What
White
the
House.
hell?
But it worked.
What
We
the
got
hell?
the exemption. So
Stupid they have
I
to do
know.
that.
But give it a Google. It literally was like a year and a half of Malcolm fighting the good fight for Australia. So, whether you like him or not, I think the way he's managed a pretty volatile president is credit to him.
Right. Well, let's bring it back to an investing point of view, Ren. And I guess the question is, now that these are up, what does it actually mean from a global point of view? There's a lot of people saying that it's the start of the trade wars.
That's the big question. So no one knows at this stage. But the big unknown right now is what's going to happen in retaliation. So Europe, the EU is considering retaliating. And they're being very tactical in their considerations. So the big three products that they're considering retaliating with are tariffs on American bourbon, tariffs on Harley Davidsons, and tariffs on blue jeans, American blue jeans. Now you might think that's a pretty eclectic mix of products, I guess, a little bit random, you could say.
Obviously worth a lot to the US economy, though.
No, they're worth a lot to certain people. So bourbon is the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, is from Kentucky, which is a heavy bourbon producer. Harley Davidsons are produced in the Republican Speaker's area. So that's Paul Ryan, who's getting affected by it.
Interesting.
And then thirdly, the Democratic leader of the House, Nancy Pelosi, represents the area in San Francisco where blue jeans, Levi's jeans are made. So they're being very tactical in who they are hitting and who they're...
Trying to hit them where it hurts the most.
Yeah. So that's why. They're also looking at putting tariffs on orange juice and peanut butter and I think cranberries as well. So EU just cherry-picking some products there. And then the big one is what will China do?
That is the big question.
They've said they're not going to do anything at this stage. They want to just wait and see. But
that's a lull.
They are also doing a year-long probe into American subsidies of sorghum. Now, that's not a made-up word, I promise you. It's spelled SORGHUM, and it's basically like a grain. But I think the broader investigation will turn into American agricultural subsidies of things like wheat, corn, soy, and whatever this sorghum is. Because America do subsidize their agricultural sector a lot. And then maybe if China were to put tariffs on those products, because a lot of those products, especially soy, goes into cattle feed. And so that... if China were to put tariffs on that, there would be a pretty large effect on American agricultural producers, which politically is really difficult for Americans. Interesting to see. At this stage, it's just Trump who's put tariffs on, but I wouldn't be surprised if China or Europe follow.
Yeah, that's going to be a watch this space. I'm very keen to see what happens because China, in their quest to be a superpower, is surely not going to sit back and let this happen. Let Trump dictate them, but who knows?
Who knows? Now, I've got to say that I think I rambled a little bit too long. We went over the 15-minute mark, so we'll try and edit it down. But if this is the first episode over 15 minutes, I take full responsibility for that.
Certainly. All right, guys. Well, that's it. Coles demerged from pardon me, Wesfarmers. That's big news. Check it out. Check out their ASX market release for some further information on that. And Ren has got deep into the trade war that's been going on for a while now. And watch this space because we're keen to see how it impacts the broader global economy and how these governments are going to react to Trump. So,
and I don't want to see any tariffs on my sorghum as well.
Yeah, you're a big user of that, Ren. So thanks for listening, guys. As always, it's always fun to do this with you, Ren. So I hope you guys are getting something out of it. And I hope you guys are enjoying Learn to Invest in 15 minutes or less. We'll talk to you next week.
Equity Mates and the people appearing in this program may have positions in the companies mentioned. This is general advice only. Please speak to a financial professional to understand how it may pertain to your individual situation.
Equity, man.